Hi guys, welcome to the Rusty Beauty's garage. I believe you met Phoenix, yeah? If you haven't, guys, this is Phoenix, these are the guys, so now you know each other. As many of you know, Phoenix is my newly acquired 74 TR6, and she was unlucky to catch fire at some point, but she was lucky enough to have met me. So she is back on the road. It took around 6 weeks to restore her from the fire damage, but also to rebuild the frame, service the differential, install new brake lines, clean up the engine bay and paint it, and a few other things. And all that happened within these 6 weeks, and we actually went to a car show already last weekend. But to be honest, it wasn't even 6 weeks, because she was here for 6 weeks, but two and a half weeks of that time I wasn't even working on her because I had other projects to finish. But when I decided to put my hands on her, I focused only on her. So believe me, let's say 3.5 to 4 weeks, if I don't do anything else, is more than enough to do what I did. And also Chef Tash visited me a few times and helped me here a lot, so it's not such a big deal. It wasn't so much work in such little time. It was just a normal time. So anyways, she's done. She's on the road now. I had troubles certifying her because of stupidities like seat belts and seats not being mounted properly and stuff like that. I mean, some of the things were real safety concerns. The tronions on the front needed to be changed because they were making noise, and because I didn't test drive her before, like after she was put together, I just took her on the road once and then I took her to the testing center, and turned out that the suspension needed a little bit of attention. I missed that, and I admit that it was supposed to be done. But other things like the fuel line was touching the oil filter, the seat belts were not retracting all the way back. I mean, they were working when you go like this, they were working, but somehow they were not retracting all the way, and that was a problem. The seats were not very secure, and they're still not. Well, that's how they are. You know, the hooks in the back of the seat that hook to that plate, like, you can't make it super solid, but the seat is not holding me in place. The seat belt is what holds me in place. Anyways, details. The car is on the road now, and I'm happily enjoying it. I drive it every day, and that was the goal of the whole restoration. So enough about the past, let's talk about the future. I mean, she's on the road, but she needs a lot more love. There's so many more little things that need to be done, and some are more important, some are not so important, like radio, for example. I want a radio in my car. Overdrive, yes, I need overdrive, but can it drive with 4-speed? Yes, it can drive with 4-speed, but there's few things that I want to address sooner rather than later, and these are, in the first place, the supports for the rear tube shock conversion, because the car came to me with the tube conversion, but the conversion doesn't come with this reinforcement bracket, and very often the bracket for the tube shocks shakes the frame to a point where it cracks it. So we don't want that to happen, so this is going to be the first thing that we're going to do. We're going to reinforce these brackets. In the second place, I have to get oil sump gasket and some thrust washers, because the end play of the crankshaft is a little bit over the limit. It should be between 6 and 8 thou, the end play of the crankshaft, and this one is 10 thou. So it's a little bit over the limit. It's nothing critical yet, but it's going to become critical, so I don't want to get there, and I want to do that as soon as possible. So that probably is going to be the next thing. So without further ado, let's get crack-a-lacking. Finally, I'm talking too much. Okay, so the wheel is out, and this is what I'm talking about. So this is the rear tube shock conversion. You can buy this ready-made, and what it is, it's just a mounting bracket that goes in the place of the original Armstrong lever shock, and it gives you a point here where to mount your tube shock, and the bottom of it goes back to the trailing arm where normally the shock link would go for the Armstrong. So it works great. I don't know what the benefits are. I didn't convert it. That's how the car came to me. I don't want to get into arguments of whether this is a good idea or not. We're just going with it. The thing is now, whoever invented this bracket didn't think it through, because that creates a huge lever now from here to here and constantly bends the frame here. And as it wiggles back and forth, the frame often cracks here. I've seen it on cars that the frame already cracked there because of this tube shock conversion. So there's a solution to that, and it's very simple. Just take a piece of angle iron. I bought 3 feet of that, cut it in half, and now we're gonna mount it something like that to support this big lever here. So obviously we're gonna have to make a cut here, a V cut on the rear piece, and keep the top piece flat, and the long piece we're gonna bend like that somewhere here, and it's gonna end up there on the frame. The only thing is now, if we put it flat with the frame here, like this, now it touches the body here. We want it to be a little bit further away from the body, but then we have a little gap here on the top of the frame. So we're gonna have to make another V-cut here and make a little bend out as well to make it sit flat here at the bottom towards the frame, but in the meantime to end up somewhere here. That's a pretty good angle, I think. Let's go test it. That's actually pretty good. Look at that. Yeah, we can bend it more and send it a little bit further back there, but I don't think it's needed. We're not gonna be able to drill holes because of the fender. I think that's more than enough. Okay, that's actually perfect. I didn't show it to you, but let's weld it and then we're gonna check it together. Okay, that fits well. And I already marked here at the bottom. I want to cut this part because it's too long. And okay, so this is just a dry fit, but I drilled the holes. You saw I had to use the angle drive because it was so tight here, but I was able to drill these two, no problem. Now we're gonna take it out to paint it, and then when we're putting it on, I'm gonna have to see if I can put the bolts from this side, because we don't want the shock to collapse and hit the bolt here, you know. If we only have the head on this side, it's gonna be just fine. I was thinking of welding it here and just leaving it with bolts there, and this way we're gonna have one big bracket between this and this one together, but I have to take it out completely. Maybe that's what I should have done. I have to take it out completely so I can weld it on the back as well, not only here and here. Anyway, it is bolted there, and if I see that there is a trouble, I might just weld it. Also, I was able to bend the other one based on this one with all the cuts and everything, but I didn't want to weld it before we take the other wheel out and test fit it there, because there might be a little difference here and there. So while we have the opportunity to correct it, we should take it. All right, so that's the final result on this side. I was able to reverse these bolts. Now they're out of the way. It's nicely painted, trimmed. I could have trimmed it a little bit more, but hey, let's not be perfectionists. And by the way, I was able to finish the other side as well. Nice and solid. So this job is done. Let's go and do something else. In this crappy weather, what else could we do other than just drinking beer? All right, so it's about a month later actually, and I've done more work on the car, but nothing that I thought that I should film. I know that in the beginning of the video I said that the most pressing items are the thrust washers on the engine and the front end, the hub bearings and the ball joint boots, but I was thinking when I do the thrust washers, I'm gonna have to drain the oil. But this is pretty fresh oil. I just changed it, right? It was like, it's not even 1,000 kilometers ago. So I decided that even though the end play is a little bit more than the limit, I'm gonna leave it until spring when I'm gonna have to change the oil anyways. If I change it now, I'm gonna have to change it again in the spring because it's gonna be 6 months or whatever. The ball joints as well. I'm gonna change the entire ball joints in the spring, and I'm gonna service all the hubs and everything. To that list, I also want to add electronic ignition, vacuum advanced distributor. If not, I'm thinking about 1, 2, 3 distributor, but I don't know if I'm gonna do that because then I'm gonna have to modify my, hey, go away. Because then I'm gonna have to modify my tachometer as well, because the 1, 2, 3 distributor doesn't provide a tachometer gear. So I don't know what we're gonna do about that, but again, we're gonna plan that for the spring. Also, I believe I'm gonna have an overdrive transmission for the car by the spring. So in the spring, we're gonna do all these things and we're gonna have a brand new, fresh car for the season. For now, I said I'm just gonna enjoy driving it. And I do, believe me, it is real fun. I did lots of little projects on the car. I installed a radio, I painted the steering wheel, and actually I had a helper here the other day and I showed him how, and he changed my soft top. I have this soft top, it's a donation from Don Quackenbush. He had it on his 1969 TR6 and it wasn't as per his requirements, so he actually donated this brand new soft top to me. I took it off of his car and the other day my helper installed it, so I have a brand new soft top. Now, you know, my old one was burned right here from the fire and it had a hole here, etc, etc. With Chef Tash the other day we completed our trip, which we started in Calgary a month ago. We did 7 days of driving from Calgary to Toronto, but our last leg was supposed to go around Muskoka here, north of Toronto, but there were wildfires and we couldn't do it at the time. But now things calmed down and we actually did it with our Triumphs. He had his TR8, I had my TR6, and we did a 500 kilometer trip, which was a great experience. I loved it. So the car did really well at the time, but there's one problem that she developed, and not during that trip. She started before that, but during that trip it became worse and worse. And what I'm talking about is the brake master cylinder. So when you hit the brakes, you have a solid pedal and you stop. But if you keep your foot on the pedal, it slowly goes down until it reaches the floor, and all of a sudden your brakes release. That happened to me on a traffic light. I was waiting on a red light and I had my foot on the pedal, and then all of a sudden the car in front of me started moving slowly, and I was like, where is this guy going? It's a red light. And then turned out that he was not moving, I was moving backwards, even though my foot was on the pedal, but I reached the floor. So this is a problem that I see more and more people are having on forums and on the Facebook group. Somebody was discussing it, and actually I had a car in the summer here that had the same problem, and I think this is related to the seals inside the master cylinders and to the quality of these seals nowadays, because the quality of everything that's made out of rubber is becoming horrible. So that's a little bit scary. So let me show you the problem and then we will see if we can solve it together. I solved it on that car in the summer, so we should be able to solve it, but I want to solve it with you and we can all understand why this is happening, because it is a little bit tricky. So without further ado, let's get crack-a-lacking. So this is what's happening. There you go. It doesn't happen every time. Sometimes I have a solid pedal, sometimes it's solid in the beginning, and then just like now, you see, it goes and it sinks all the way to the floor. Well, it's not all the way to the floor, but to the end of the stroke of the pedal. Here you see, it's going down. So when it first happened on that other car in the summer, I thought I didn't bleed the brakes properly. So I went and I bled the brakes one more time, and then one more time, and one more time, and it just kept happening. And then I realized that something else was going on here. You see, I'm pumping. This fluid is going somewhere. Well, let me show you where it's going. If you look at the master cylinder here in the reservoir, what is happening, the fluid from the big compartment, which is for the front brakes, pumps into the compartment for the rear brakes on the front of the reservoir. Like now, it stopped happening. Now I have a solid pedal again. I'm trying, but anyways, you can't see it now, but believe me, that's what's happening. You can see now my level here is much higher than the level here, because fluid is going into this compartment. And this is also a new fluid. You see how dirty it became? All these dark things are deposits from my seals inside of the master cylinder. Looks like the seals inside are disintegrating and allowing from the front compartment here fluid to travel into the rear compartment. So we're gonna have to take it apart and change the seals, and hopefully that's gonna help, because sometimes new seals are worse than the old ones. Somebody on the Rusty Beauties group on Facebook was commenting that 2 new cylinders they bought, brand new master cylinders, and they did the exact same thing. So it's the quality of the seals. Even though they are new, they're already garbage. Oh, by the way, we also with Chef Tash, we installed solid mounts for the steering rack. That's another little project that we've done and I didn't film. Let's suck out the fluid first. Now, this fluid, even though it's new brake fluid, it looked horrible, and the rest of the system is full of it now too. So I'm just gonna flush it. I'm gonna raise the car in the air, gonna take out all the wheels, and I'm gonna just suck all the fluid from the whole system. And that's also gonna make things less messy, because if I undo these lines from here now, I'm gonna leak fluid all over the place, and I don't want to. Okay, so the system is drained. I went through all 4 wheels and sucked out with my vacuum pump all the fluid. So now we can undo this, and hopefully there's not gonna be any drips. But still, I'm gonna put a piece of paper towel underneath, because I don't want any brake fluid on my freshly painted engine bay. Many of you know what I mean by that. It's your fault. Now I have to pay attention to every drop of brake fluid and every little spot of oil. And like, it is dirty, I know. The engine bay is dirty now again, but we're gonna clean it up in a week, because we are going to the British Car Day, which many of you know is the biggest British car show in North America. We get 2,000 cars, sometimes more. One year I remember, I think it was 2019 or 2018, I don't remember what year, but one year we had 1,300 cars almost. Now we have just shy of 1,000 cars every year, I think. But still, it's a big car show. So we are undoing the 2 lines here. Then we have to undo these 2 bolts and remove it from the brake servo or brake booster, whatever you want to call that. And the cylinder is gonna come out. Okay, not much fluid here. Looks like we did a good job sucking it out. There you go. 1 master cylinder out. Let's get it on the bench. Alright, so to understand what the problem is, we're gonna have to take it apart and figure out how it works. I kind of know how it works, but there are things that I'm not very clear with, so let's figure it out together. So to take it apart, we start by removing the reservoir with these 4 screws here. Of course, the last one is gonna give me troubles. I don't want to strip the head. Okay. Ha! Tricked you. Okay. So here we have seals, of course, that seal against the openings here to the reservoir. We'll see how we can wash that, because there's still dirty stuff in it, even though we can't wash the whole system, but whatever we can. So let's take the seals out. I'm gonna keep them for now, because sometimes, to be honest, the old seals are better than the new ones. Well, I don't know about this cylinder, but anyway. So now let's go to the vise. So to take everything out from inside, everything comes out of here, but there's nothing that holds it in place here in the front. In fact, what holds it in place is this little valve here. This needs to come out, and for this to come out, we need to undo this hex from here. And this is a little bit tricky. If you don't have a special tool, well, maybe you can do it with regular hex. But what I have is, does it say what size this is? That's 49995, so it is 1/2 inch hex. But what I did was I drilled a hole a little bit here, so it accepts the top of this valve, because sometimes you can't, it just slips on you. But this way I'm able to put it all the way in, and now I can just do that and undo it. If you don't have a hole, you can still put it in, but it is gonna slip on you. So once this is out, now we have to push on the piston just a little bit, because now the springs and everything is pushing on the tip of this valve. If we push back a little bit, we're releasing the tension, and now we can take this valve out. It's a non-return valve, and now everything can come out. Actually, I want to show you. So the valve, the tip of the valve comes here, and that's what prevents this from coming out. We have a hole here. I don't know what this hole is for, and where it leads. Oh, leads on this side. Okay. I don't know how it works. I mean, I know how all the parts go together, and I've done it many times, but I've never thought of actually figuring out how it works. So now we have a good opportunity to do that. There's a spring. Now there's another plunger here in the back. That's for the rear brakes. So let's take this out now. It doesn't want to come out like that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna plug these holes, the holes on the side, and we're gonna blow into this one. It's gonna shoot out of here as well, so somehow we wanna hold this and that at the same time, like this, and blow here. There you go. Magic. So this is the other plunger, and that's everything, guys. There's nothing else inside, but now let's figure out how it works. All right, I think I figured it out. So this is our cylinder, and you can see where the ports are. The little port for the rear brake here has an L shape, so it goes down from the reservoir, which is on top, right? This is where your reservoir goes. So from the reservoir goes down and goes into an L shape and into the bottom of the cylinder. So if you look inside there, you can kind of see the hole. For the front brakes, obviously, the fluid goes down from here and fills this compartment. These are all the internals, and first we have this entire assembly that goes in all the way to the bottom. Then we have a spring, then we have this plunger, and we have the valve that locks everything in place. And then of course we have this nut that locks the valve in place. What is happening here is the fluid from here goes through this one-way valve down, it opens in that direction, and it fills the front part of the cylinder here. But when we press the pedal and create pressure inside, this pushes back on the valve and closes it. And what prevents it from going into the rear compartment, which is somewhere from here to here somewhere, is this seal on this piston. So from this seal to this seal, this is our entire front brake part of the master cylinder. And we also have this like a washer here on this plunger, and this is just to guide it, so it stays always parallel to the cylinder. But on the other hand, it will block the fluid from going from here to here, and it kind of needs to go there, because when we line this up with the cylinder, you see the fluid comes down on this side, but actually needs to be pushed out on this side, because this is where the port is. And to make that happen, they made this hole here, which is leading down to the center of the plunger and out of here. So this is connected. So that's how fluid travels from this side of the washer to this side. Okay, so then what happens is, like we said, when we press on the pedal, we are pressing on this side, and this seal compresses the fluid against this seal. The non-return valve here is closed, so fluid can't go back there. So as this spring compresses, the fluid pushes out of here, and it goes into the PDWA and all the brake lines, etc., etc. Okay, but that's for the front brakes. How do the rear ones work? All right, so we have the fluid going in, and because this has this shape like a castle top shape, this plastic part holds this seal away from the wall, and the fluid can go in and fill this part of the cylinder from the end to this seal somewhere up to here. When we start pressing on the pedal, first, because this spring is longer, has less tension, and we start applying pressure only on the front brakes. At some point, as this spring gets compressed more and more, the tension in it increases the more we compress it, and now at some point we start overcoming the tension on this spring as well, and we are pushing on this plunger too in that direction. As we are pushing on it, what happens is this little seal comes out and pushes against the wall on the back, and on the center of that wall we know that we have the hole that leads down from the reservoir. So that hole gets closed. That's our non-return valve there, and as it gets closed, then this seal pushes the fluid compresses the fluid that is here and pushes it out from here. So that's how it works. And I'm also assuming that if you press really hard, this spring gets compressed all the way, and these two actually become solid, and you push now on the rear brakes. How do I know that? Because I noticed that when my pedal was spongy, and I push all the way, and I keep pushing and pushing and pushing, and when I reach the end, but if I press hard on it, my rear brakes were working. On a traffic light that happened a few times. Well, they were working, I guess, because I was pressing on this. So in my case, what was happening, this seal was not holding very well. When I was pressing here, the fluid was going into the front brakes, but I was also able to send fluid into the rear compartment right here, and you would think that this is gonna go into the rear brakes, but actually looks like this seal was not sealing as well against here, so my fluid from the front compartment was traveling this way and up here and coming into the reservoir and overflowing into the front compartment right here. So let's change everything. I have a new kit here, and we're gonna change all the seals, and we're gonna see if that's gonna help the situation. Looks like this kit doesn't come with another valve. Some of the kits come with a new valve, some don't, but I know for a fact that we don't have a problem with this valve because my fluid was not returning back here when I pressed on the pedal. It was going through and it was returning back here. So this non-return valve was not working. So let's take this one out. I know that this seal was also not a problem, because if that seal was a problem, it was gonna leak through here into the brake booster, but we know that it didn't. Okay, just gonna keep them for now. The spring is okay. Now this is the culprit. We know that this seal was not good. Now to take this seal out, we have to undo this tooth from here. We need to open it a little bit. And now this should come out. So you see this like cup. This tooth fits inside here. This cup has this opening here that is like a bigger on the side and smaller in the center. So once this head of this, whatever that is, rod goes in and you slide it to the center, it stays there and it can't come out. And when this cup is pushed into here, that head of this thing falls into this hole, and now it can't slide to the side anymore and it can't come out. Okay, so now let's take it apart. The plastic thingy. There's another spring here. In some master cylinders, this spring is not like spring, it's a spring washer here, like a wave washer. In this case, we have a real spring. And this is this seal that is also a culprit, because it wasn't doing what it was supposed to do. It was supposed to close and not allow the fluid go back in. Now let's put the new ones. Here, this is the wave washer that normally they have. Maybe we should put a wave washer instead of that, eh? I don't know. What should we do? Maybe this spring was not pushing hard enough against the wall. But in fact, it's not the spring, it's the pressure that pushes against the wall. So this is for the cup. This is for the reservoir. This is for the front. This is for here. Everything is kind of lubricated already, but okay, it's in place. Let's put this wave washer. And you know what? We can use the spring as well. Can we use them both? Why not? So now here we have the cup, which we have to bend the tooth back in so it clicks like that. Put the cup in here. On this side we have again this plastic thing with the castle shape out. Now the question is, if we have too much tension on this, it's not going to allow fluid to come from the reservoir down. Yeah, I'm going to trust the old one. I like this better. Okay. Then we have this spring, and now we have to compress the spring, and in the meantime slide this into the hole, right? And then slide it to the center, like that. I can push it towards the center so it doesn't come out, doesn't fly away. Okay. And now we can push it here, but we have to make sure that we're pushing on the cup only, because if we push here, this connection here is gonna come undone. So only on the cup, like that, somehow, until it clicks. There you go. It clicked. So now this stem inside can't slide left and right, and it can't come out through the bigger portion of the opening. Okay. This is our other seal. I don't know what this is. Is this for here? Maybe. Never seen that before. Okay, anyway, let's change this one. I'll lubricate it. This one doesn't have direction. It has a little groove here on the side, but no direction. Just gonna make sure that it is not twisted. And that the groove is still outside. We didn't accidentally twist the whole thing and the groove ends up in. Okay. So this cylinder actually has a step inside. Yeah, it has a shoulder. Okay. Okay, so it makes sense down there. Okay, then we can put this spring down there and change this seal. How do we do that? Can I push it through here? Okay. Now we have to go over this shoulder here. Okay. And this can go in as well. Okay, it's coming. So I'm only debating now whether to change this seal here. Maybe I should. Oh yeah, this one has a little cut inside, like a channel that is gonna fit around this kind of like a washer here. Okay, let's change that as well, even though I might regret it. Here we have to be careful not to lose this spring. We can undo this spring from here, but I don't want to. Make it too complicated. Okay, that actually worked pretty well. All right, so now we can push this in, drop the valve down there, and tighten it with this. Okay, and then we put these two here, and the problem with this is that you have to put them like this, and then flip the whole thing upside down, and hoping that they are not coming out. Well, they are in grooves, so they shouldn't come out. Okay, and we are left with just one seal, which is for the cup, and this cup comes apart, if you didn't know. So you can change this seal, which I don't know why we are changing it, but since we have it, why not? I'm hoping that it is better than the old one, you know. I don't trust seals anymore. I really don't trust them. So if you wonder how come the reservoir is vented through this little hole, but fluid never splashes from there, it's because that's how it happens. There's this little notch here that allows only air somehow to travel through there. It goes into this chamber that's between the two cups, and that's how it vents from there. Okay, let's go install it on the car. I'm gonna install it on the car. I'm not gonna bother you with that. I'm gonna connect the two lines, I'm gonna bleed the brakes, and then we're gonna go for a test drive and see if we've done anything. All right, so we have a solid pedal now. I went for a test drive and she drove absolutely no problem, and stops most importantly, right? Hopefully it stays that way though, because these kits, I'm a little bit worried about these kits nowadays. Like, everything made out of rubber is getting worse and worse, including bushings for the suspension and seals and all that. Anyway, it's done. Topped up the fluid. Well, already has garbage inside. It was nice and clean when I bled the brakes. Well, that's a lot of fluid again. Don't tell me that it is transferring from here to here. I'll keep an eye on it anyway. So that's it. Oh, that's something else that we changed on the car. So the latch, the cable, and this latch actually are brand new, and that's another donation. So thank you so much, Elin. Anyway, that's gonna be everything for today. I'm not gonna do anything anymore, I think, unless it's required on the car this season, because I wanna enjoy it. It's September already. I'm going away for a week now, but then the British Car Day is coming, so we wanna drive it there, and hopefully we're gonna be able to enjoy a few more driving weeks after that. I'm not intending to park the car until the snow is here, so September, October, hopefully parts of November, I'm still gonna be driving this car, and then we're gonna put it away in storage, and we're gonna focus on our winter projects on other cars that are coming. Some interesting projects are coming anyways. And then in the spring, like we said, we're gonna deal with the crankshaft end play. We're gonna change the front bearings, and we're gonna pack them with grease properly. We're gonna service the front hubs, the bow joints, and hopefully we're also gonna have an overdrive transmission until then, so we're gonna install that in the spring. So that's gonna be everything for this project, guys. I really appreciate so many of you watching the whole fire restoration of this car. It was a nice journey. It took only 6 weeks to put the car back on the road after we bought it, and after that we took our time to do some more little projects as needed. But like I said, I already enjoyed the car. I put probably, I don't know, maybe 1,000 kilometers, 1,500. I don't really pay attention to that, but judging by how many times I filled up the tank, I think I'm somewhere into 1,500 kilometers, somewhere there. And I'm hoping to put at least as much more until the end of the season. So that was something that for the first time in a long time I was able to actually do what I planned to do. The plan for this car was to just buy it, quickly fire restore it and put it back on the road so I can enjoy it for the rest of the season, and we were able to do it actually. I didn't put it to the side and forget about it, or I didn't got carried away and started an frame off restoration. Even though we took the body off, we put it back together pretty quickly and we were able to put it back on the road. So anyways, I'm talking too much. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, commenting, subscribing, sharing and supporting the channel. Really important for me. There's many people who donate every once in a while on PayPal, which is really appreciated, and I really appreciate also all the Patreons who donate every month. So if you are interested, you can go find me on Patreon, patreon.com/rustybeauties, and you can become a regular monthly supporter by donating $5, $10 or $20 automatically, or like I said, you can go to PayPal and just transfer any amount you want to elin.yakov@rustybeauties.com, and that goes a long way with me because it allows me to spend more time editing the videos, because like I keep saying that video editing is not an easy job. Apparently it takes a long time. It takes seconds to shoot, just turn on the camera, do the work and turn off, but then it takes forever to get rid of the parts that are boring for people, speed them up a little bit, and correct my speech as well, because my English is not great and sometimes I say things that I don't really want to say, or I say them in a way which is wrong, so I have to say them again, or sometimes I just... Anyway, again, I'm talking too much. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!